You're being given the talking points, you're given the phrases. President of IMF, president of NBC, president of ABC, president of CBS, president of CNN, president of Fox, because the elites and globalists are incredibly racist. Nixon, former US President Reagan, Henry Kissinger, former Secretary of State. All these people were there.
We're telling you the things that they don't want you to know that will make your life better.
So let me just talk about Bilderberg for a second, because this is the ultimate group on global domination, world government, one world currency, the globalists. What is the Bilderberg Group? First off, it was called Bilderberg because their first meeting was held in a hotel called Bilderberg. And so today, every year, this group meets someplace in the world. I was there when it was at Rotterdam in Germany at the Sea Hotel, the Sea Hotel Überfahrt in Rotterdam, Germany, south of München in Bayern, Germany. And I've been at other ones as well. Bilderberg invites people who are in secret societies such as Skull and Bones, which is out of Yale University in the United States, that are members of the Bohemian Grove, which is in California in the United States, and other societies that are operating around the globe. And they're all tied in, but they're unique, and they're separate to that country or that region or that culture or that race or that religion. But these secret societies operate with people who are in positions of power and influence, usually by bloodline. They're the privileged elite class. They usually don't allow people in these societies from outside of the privileged elite class, because the elites and globalists are incredibly racist. And by definition, that means they think that certain bloodlines are superior to others. Certain bloodlines should rule the world, and other bloodlines should be more slaves, and basically do what we're told. We'll talk about that at another time. That's a very interesting topic. So this Bilderberg Group takes the most powerful, influential people on planet Earth. For example, the head of the Federal Reserve in the United States, the ministers of the Treasury of various countries, the head of the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, the head of the World Bank, the head of oil companies, the chairman or presidents of oil companies, the presidents and chairmen now of Facebook and Google and internet companies. So who has a huge controlling influence on the planet? Supreme Court judges, politicians, business leaders, people that are in positions of power and authority. The heads of media. Usually it's the head of every major news organization in the world. They go to Bilderberg. At the Bilderberg meeting, it is more influential than the G8 meeting, where you take the prime ministers and presidents of the 8 big countries. They also have a meeting in Davos, Switzerland, every year. And this is reported on in the news. So you hear about the G8, that's all over the news. You hear about Davos, where the elites get together. That's a very powerful meeting as well. But every year, more powerful people meet for a weekend, sometimes 3 or 4 or 5 days. Sometimes there's meetings going on privately before the main event starts. I was there for 2 weeks. This happens every year, and it's never reported on. Now, there are some guys on YouTube or Rumble or different platforms that physically went to where the meeting was held with their cameras outside the hotel, and they were showing Prime Minister, President of IMF, president of NBC, president of ABC, president of CBS, president of CNN, president of Fox, all these powerful media moguls, former president, Supreme Court judge. And they're like looking at all these people and going, there's more wealth in this room. There's more powerful people in this room. And it's not reported on in any newspaper in the world. It's like it doesn't exist. Well, number one, if all the media people are there, they're controlling what goes out. What happened to the independent journalist? If there's an independent journalist at the New York Times or the London Times or the Sydney Times or the Los Angeles Times, if there's an independent journalist, how come they're not writing about it? You know why? Because they want to keep their job. They want to keep their job. That's why they're not writing about it. They want to keep their job. So think about this. All the heads of the top media are at Bilderberg. So they're controlling. You can now see that independent journalists are not independent. The message is controlled by upstairs. We heard Jeff Zuckerberg. We heard the president of NBC. I believe it was NBC. It was either NBC or ABC. No, I'm sorry, it was CNN. We heard the tape of him talking to all of his executives and journalists, telling them this is what you are going to be reporting on the news. And it's all anti-Trump. You are going to be telling everyone that Trump colluded with Russia to win the election. You hear him say, whether or not this is factual, or he doesn't say find the truth. He says, this is what you're going to be saying. You're being given the talking points. You're given the phrases that we know hit the emotions, and you're going to repeat the party line if you want to keep your job. So we know that. But Bilderberg is not talked about anywhere. So you have people in the alternative media talk about it. I haven't heard people even mention it much at all anymore in the last 10 years, really. But this is an annual meeting where the future of the world is discussed. These are the globalists. So if you're at a secret society meeting like Skull and Bones Society, and there's only been a handful of non-bonesmen, they call them bonesmen, if you've actually been to Yale University and been invited to Skull and Bones, like President Bush, John Kerry, former Secretary of State, other people, Supreme Court judges, you get invited to the island where the Bones people get together. Only a handful of people have been invited to that island who are not Bonesmen. But when you're there, they talk about the globalist plan. Because the people who are in Skull and Bones are in positions of power all over the world. So when you look at that organization and you look at Bohemian Grove in California, it's the same thing. The people that are invited there to be members, former President Nixon, former US President Reagan, Henry Kissinger, former Secretary of State, all these people were there. Former President of the Soviet Union, Mikhail Gorbachev. We were together there and at Bilderberg. These powerful people talk about the globalist plan. So the point is this. When you listen to someone who is talking about something that they know about instead of that they know from personal experience, please beware. You're not getting the true information.